These girls are underprepared. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Strong Female Athlete Podcast. I am back for a solo episode today. It is Saturday as I'm recording this, and I just got done finishing some Saturday sessions. And I really love my Saturday group because I work with a lot of girls who are returning to play from having an ACL injury, and they usually reach out to me when they're at a minimum 3 months into their rehab or ACL physical therapy. Anywhere from 3 to 6 months is usually when people reach out to me because they really want to do heavy strength training. They want to do proper speed training, change of direction, and agility, and really return back to the field better than they were prior to injury. I don't just train healthy athletes who want to get fast and strong and agile. I also train girls who are looking for a strength coach during that return to sport process in the later stages of their ACL rehab. So my Saturday group is dedicated to the girls who have joined my program for their return to sport. And I really look forward to these sessions because I really get to train them. And it's really interesting. And I was having this conversation with one of the dads of an ACL girl that I work with, but he was like, wow, like she's training harder than her healthy teammates. Her healthy teammates are just playing soccer, and they're not building their muscles. They're not improving their speed. They're not working on their reactive strength and their power and their explosiveness. And I was like, yeah, I know. Like if you go to any of the average girls soccer team today in any of the leagues, whether it's the Girls Academy, the ECNL, DPL, I mean, all the acronyms, go to the average girls soccer team and ask around, ask the girls, ask the parents who's doing year-round strength training 1 to 2 times a week consistently. And I'm willing to bet you're going to only get a tiny handful of people that are saying they're doing it. And I'm talking about proper strength training. I'm talking about doing strength training that is a program that is periodized, where they're progressing in weight, they're learning new lifts during each training cycle. They're also doing full plyometric programs based on in-season or off-season. They're doing a speed program where they're learning how to run efficiently, but they're also timing their sprints and tracking their progress. That's what I mean by a full plan. So go to anyone on your team and ask around if they're doing a true speed, strength, and conditioning program. And I'm willing to bet you're only going to have just a couple of people who say yes. And that's the problem. That's the problem, and why I am doing this episode today is I'm really wanting to ask the question, are girls soccer players getting soft? Meaning, are they too underprepared for their sport? Which is why maybe we're seeing a rise in soft tissue injuries, overuse injuries, a rise in pediatric ACL injuries or meniscus tears. Something's going on. And this is not a female thing. This is a load problem. This is a lack of preparing them for the loads they're entering into a competitive game setting. Girls must load in the gym in order to handle load in the game. They must gain strength relative to their body weight. So really working on doing deadlifts over their body weight, doing split squats, 50% to 75% of their body weight. In an untrained athlete, I'd say 50% is a really good goal, but eventually they should work up to at least that 75% of body weight split squatting. And I'm willing to bet a lot of girls, if they are doing a strength program, ask them their numbers. Do they know how heavy they can lift on these lifts? Is it with good technique? Are they being coached properly? It's a problem. And I think because of this, a lot of girl soccer players are unable to handle the increasing demands of the game. And the game has become more fast-paced, more physical, more aggressive on the girls and women's side, especially in the Division I college space and also in the pros. So I used to be someone who thought that overtraining was the problem. I think overtraining becomes a problem when girls are not built up to handle it, They don't have a chronic work capacity that they've built up to gradually. I think overtraining is a problem when there's no foundation of athletic skills, motor skills, balance, coordination, stability, mobility. I think overtraining becomes a problem when there's no foundation of strength. And this is why a lot of the ACL patients who come to me, a lot of them are 14, 15 years old. It's just been a common theme I've been seeing. And another common theme I've been seeing is I will ask them before they start to work with me is, did you do strength and conditioning prior to this injury happening? And I have not had one say yes. All of them have said no. We had no previous strength training experience in a supervised setting or with a coach. It was just our club kind of winging it. That was like the most that they did. And then I ask, okay, well, what did your club do for performance, which is also injury reduction training? They're like, well, we did injury prevention with our club. We did balance drills and mini band walks within warm up. And I'm like, that's not injury prevention because, first and foremost, you can't 100% prevent injuries. It's only injury minimization. So they're lying to you that this is an injury prevention program. And then I would also say that it's not enough. Eventually, there needs to be a progression, especially in that age range of 12 to 14 years old and girls where that growth spurt is happening. They need to, yes, start with body weight first, learn the movement patterns in the gym, learn how to squat, learn how to hinge, learn how to push and pull, and also carry. We need to start there first for the younger ones who are in middle school. And then eventually, if it looks good and they have that high training age by the time they're 13, 14, they're moving some good weight. They're moving some decent weight too often. And I think what's happening with that 14 to 15-year-old age range where a lot of girls are tearing their ACLs is they don't have that high training age by that time. They have no previous experience in a gym setting where they're learning how to move and do these foundational body weight movement patterns, and they're not progressing at all. They don't know their deadlift numbers by the time they're in their teens. They don't know how much they can split squat. They've never been taught a single leg squat, and it's just a complete disaster. And I think a lot of girls soccer players think that they're doing the right thing with injury reduction, but they're not. Injury reduction is not adorable little balance drills and just mini band walks and hop on one foot and try to land. And by the way, a lot of the FIFA 11 plus warm-ups that are implemented in club soccer practices where girls are doing these jumping and landing drills, the landings are piss poor. I'm just going to call a spade a spade. It is awful. Their shoulders are swaying left and right. They're not being coached how to land properly. They're not being coached how to sink into their hips on that landing and bend the knee a little bit, bend the hips so they can really react to that force quickly. They're landing either straight leg, they're falling over, their knee is wobbling like a tree, their arms are flailing, which doesn't help lower body mechanics. So they're not being taught how to keep quiet arms during landing and decelerating drills. So it's just stuff like this where I just feel so many people are failing girls soccer players. And as a result, girls soccer players are becoming soft and they're not resilient enough to injury. And then when we look at the performance piece of things, they're plateauing in their speed. They're not able to sustain high speeds in the second half. Even when they're running sub-maximally, they're not efficient and they're getting fatigued fast during sub-maximal tasks throughout the game. And they can't control their bodies during quick change of direction movements. They don't know how to pump the brakes, then go left or right or turn around or cut quickly. That's how a lot of these injuries happen. They don't know how to pump the brakes, which is a combination of a lot of things. It's a lack of eccentric strength, and it's a lack of coaches and clubs not properly teaching these jumping and landing drills correctly. Another thing I see is plyometrics being used wrong. More often than not, I see plyometrics with girls' soccer teams being used as punishment. For example, I'll hear things like, oh, we did full field broad jumps. And I'm like, why? First of all, what is the purpose of a plyometric? What is the purpose of a jump? To train how to have reactive strength, be explosive when the muscle lengthens and then shortens. We want plyometrics to be high intent, high quality. They don't need to be super high rep, like a full field of broad jumps. A broad jump is meant to train qualities that transfer to acceleration and being explosive. So there's no reason that we should be doing it full field because it's just going to make girls' knees sore. And usually when they do it full field, knees start to collapse towards those last several reps. And it's a complete disaster. Knees collapse, we're loading their ACLs wrong. So yeah, we're not helping. We are only making the problem worse. So I'm being more outspoken about this because while I love helping girls return to play from ACL injuries and that they see the importance of, yes, doing their physical therapy, but then during those later stages, at least 3 to 6 months post-op, when they can start squatting and jogging and lifting weight, off to the strength coach they can go to start getting stronger. Because where are they returning back to? They're returning back to their sport. What goes on in their sport? Hundreds of changes of direction movements, sprints. Girls soccer players are running up to 3 to 5 miles in a game. So we need to prepare them for the conditioning demands. I love working with girls returning to sport to ACL because I want them to go back stronger and faster than they were prior to injury. The goal should not be to just have them quote unquote cleared by the surgeon. Cleared by the surgeon just means, okay, the graft is healed, your knee has full range of motion, you can extend the leg, like great. But cleared surgically is very different than cleared to play an 80-minute game in the youth space and being able to do the hundreds of cuts and changes of directions that are required of you to stay healthy and perform. So I love helping ACL girls come back, but it also has been really sad talking to them and seeing these universal themes of them having no previous experience with any quality strength training done by a professional. And I think it's very critical that girls work with true professionals. I oftentimes hear girls kind of just make up workouts on their own and go to the gym, which is great. I'm glad people are exercising and getting in the gym, but at the same time, you need to have a professional's eye looking at these lifts, knowing when to progress your load, knowing how to write out your sets and reps so it's the right dose so you're not too fatigued, but you still get a good strength adaptation. It has to be a supervised program, whether in person or remotely, where you're submitting videos of you working out and the coach is cueing and coaching you remotely. It can't just be the girl going to the gym and just winging it. Oh, okay. Today, I guess I'll just do 3 sets of 10 back squats. Well, first of all, I'm not a huge fan of back squats, so exercise selection matters. I'm a huge fan of split squats, single leg squats to 90 degrees because it really builds that single leg strength. Back squats, a lot of people end up with a lot of back problems. I don't like back squats. So girls are picking the wrong exercises to do at the gym. They're picking the wrong sets and reps, and it's a complete disaster. So yes, I'm happy girls are getting in the gym, but it really needs to be supervised by a professional in person or remotely because the art of strength and conditioning specialists is knowing the proper dosage so that athletes aren't fatigued and they're able to make gains over time. And we're giving the right sets and reps. We're prescribing the correct weights based on the technique we're looking at in front of us. There's just so much to this that I just don't think people find the importance of it. Like they just think, oh, well, if we're going to the gym and lifting weights, we're doing injury prevention. No, you're not. You're just going to the gym and doing random workouts. It has to be a program that is progressed and it has to be supervised, especially at these ages when pre-puberty girls going through puberty are learning the movement patterns And some girls I have to hold back from moving to heavier loads because we need to nail it down for a little longer with some of the body weight stuff. But then some girls, I look at them and I'm like, you know what? I think you actually can go heavier. I think you have more in you. Your technique looks perfect. So let's go up maybe 10 more pounds on the deadlift here. So that also takes the coach's eye too. Like girls also need to be loaded heavy eventually. And I think a lot of these girls are not only underestimating themselves, but I think a lot of their strength coaches or their coaches are underestimating them. Here's another one. So I'm happy that more soccer clubs are starting to get club wide strength coaches. But again, here's my problem with it. I don't see a lot of progression happening. And I work with girls in my area who do have club wide strength coaches, and they tell me what they do at these sessions. And I'm like, did you go up in weight or have you been doing a 20-pound goblet squat for the past 8 weeks? And it's usually, well, I've been lifting the same weight for the past 8 weeks. It's the same weights every time. And I'm like, well, at that point, you're just plateauing. You're getting diminishing returns out of this and you're not building strength. And we need to build strength for performance and injury reduction. Or another one I'll hear is that girls aren't deadlifting, which is one of the best compound lifts to really build the hamstrings. And we want strong hamstrings for many reasons. Soccer is a quad dominant sport, so a lot of girls are very overdeveloped in the quads. So we need the hamstrings to be more balanced out because when the hamstrings are strong during a braking movement, the tibia is less likely to shear forward and potentially cause an ACL. So we need the hamstrings to be really strong. And I have all my athletes, I want them at a minimum to deadlift their body weight. My gosh. And a lot of girls who come in during my assessments, we deadlift body weight on day one. And they crush it and technique is perfect. And eventually I want them to work up, okay, we're going to do 1.25 times body weight. Okay, eventually we're going to do 1.5 times body weight and beyond. But you have to be in this for the long term. It's a program and it's a progression. This is true physical development. So they're not being taught the basic deadlift movements. And if they are, it's the same weight every week, or they're having these girls lift just 65 pounds all the time. And I'm like, we are underestimating these girls. These girls need to load much heavier. So yeah, it's just really frustrating to see. I think so many girls are just not loading enough. They're not doing supervised programs. They're not doing programs at all. It's just a bunch of random workouts. And it's like, well, what adaptation are we getting? And another thing with the hamstring strength is it's so critical for speed. And I saw a really cool thing the other day on speed and how strength really impacts speed. Let me pull this up. Yes, here it is. Okay, so it was a post talking about the muscle forces involved in sprinting. So I'm going to go through all these. So force in your hamstrings is up to 8 times body weight. Wow. So your hamstrings must be strong. So guys, at a minimum, please deadlift your body weight. What else? The glute max. So basically your butt muscle, 2.2 times body weight. So that's a lot of your weighted hip bridges. Also, single leg squats are some glute strength. Single leg RDLs are glute strength. Deadlift is glute strength. Okay. And then your soleus and calves up to 3 to 7 times body weight. So yeah, we need to be loading the calves and not just doing body weight calf raises for 10 weeks. Okay. And then the quad muscle, okay, 2.8 times body weight during a sprint. Guys, strength improves sprinting. That has to be a piece of any speed program, non-negotiable. So if you're wondering why your female athlete is not getting faster, check her strength. And oftentimes I'll have parents come to me who are like, she needs to improve her speed, she needs to work on her mechanics. And I'm like, great. I'm a track athlete too. I'm all for cleaning up sprint mechanics. But the problem I see most is actually not a girl's mechanics. The problem I see most is weakness. So during accelerations, they're not strong enough to really push the ground away and create that horizontal force. or they don't have the core or the upper body strength to have good posture during acceleration. So they end up rolling and stumbling forward and falling over. I've seen that too. Or they can't get fully upright during max velocity, which makes them a step behind at those top speeds. So they don't know how to open up their shoulders. They've never done pull-ups before. They've never done weighted rows or barbell inverted rows. So strength is a piece of cleaning up sprint mechanics indirectly. So the problem is more the lack of strength for both the performance side and the injury reduction side in girls soccer players. So just to end here, what I've learned from the ACL girls I've been working with is they're training harder than their healthy teammates. And that's another reason why I love helping girls return back to sport, is because I want them to go back better than ever. I want them to be an 11 out of 10 confidence going back. I don't want them to have any hesitation, any reluctance in their ability. I want to prepare them for battle. This isn't just about, okay, you're cleared, you passed, some of these tests. No, I want to prepare them for battle with what they're about to enter into in a competitive environment. Usually these girls, when they go back to their sport, they still continue to strength train. And a lot of their parents have said to me, Erica, had we truly believed that strength was going to help with this, I just think we weren't educated on it enough. We would have done this well before the injury happened, and maybe the injury wouldn't have happened. And they're regretful. And it sucks. The ACL rehab journey, it's not only a long journey, but it's full of regret and sadness. And I've seen it firsthand, which is why I'm more in your face nowadays about strength training. You got to strength train, get in the gym, have a supervised program, do an actual program. Like, that's why I'm so vocal about it, because I've worked with athletes who didn't have it, they regretted it, and they think that's what caused the injury. And it sucks. It sucks to see people have that realization, but the cool part is they returned back better than they were before. They learned a lot in the process. They learned a lot about proper strength training and actually really challenging themselves in the gym and really progressing. And I always say, if your ACL rehab is too easy, leave, get the hell out of there. It should be challenging, as girls are several months in going back to their sport and returning. It should be hard. Today, I just had some of my girls do a conditioning run, and we're working up to doing a lot of shuttle runs and change of direction conditioning. And it was hard. They rated it an 8 out of 10 today, which is pretty high RPE, pretty high intensity, but that's how it should be. And then on the strength stuff, I have my ACL girls who are coming back, they're deadlifting well over 1.25 times body weight now. Well over. I have an 8th grade girl single leg RDLing a 40-pound dumbbell, which is almost half her body weight. And that's really hard to do. A lot of young girls are just holding on to the 10-pound. No, these girls are underestimated. So if there's anything you can leave with today, whether your girl is healthy right now or not, well, let me first address the parents whose girls are healthy right now. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but all I'm saying is, if you don't strength train, if you don't sign up tomorrow with someone in your area, you are holding your daughter back, you are increasing her injury risk, and you are going to plateau her speed and explosiveness. So she needs to start tomorrow, start looking for places now. And then for the girls who are injured, if you're going through some sort of rehab, if it's too easy, if you're not moving past 10-pound dumbbells, if you're lifting the same weight all throughout your rehab, if you're not doing certain plyometrics and sport-specific movements or conditioning drills that mimic the game, leave that rehab and find someone to work with who specializes in strength and conditioning. Some PTs have a CSCS, but I recommend off to the strength and conditioning coach you go, because a lot of them understand the game demands and that build up back into those game demands so that you return back better than you were prior to injury. Guys, don't let girls soccer players become soft. The game is no joke. The game is getting more intense, especially at the youth level. For my ECNL people listening, the ECNL schedule is not going to change. Do I have problems with it? How it is pretty much year round and there's no off season? Yes, I have problems with it, but we can't change that. What we can change is make our girls more robust, and we can really build their strength, their speed. We can build their capacity to handle this. We can build their capacity to handle 3 to 4 times a week of practice, and then traveling to freaking Alabama for the weekend for 2 games, and then rinse and repeat for several more months. We can build their capacity. We can control that. We can't control crazy youth sports schedules. So, in an ideal world, here's what I would recommend for people who are practicing and playing that much year round. 1 to 2 times a week in the in season consistently. Get in the gym with a trainer or a really sound remote program and start progressing. Make sure there's still at least at a minimum 1 full off day a week, because there has to be that recovery so that girls go into games fresh. Here in Tampa, I have my girls take off on Fridays because they have games on Saturdays and Sundays. So I want them to be fresh going into those weekend games. And then if there is a weekend where there's only 1 game, then great. You get that second recovery day that you can take fully off. So that's what I would recommend. 1 to 2 times a week in season strength and speed training consistently during the season. And then once they get into maybe more of an off season, maybe they're not playing as many games in the summer, but they're still practicing or preparing for playoffs, but no games, then maybe up the speed and strength training to 2 to 3 times a week consistently. Okay. And then maybe when they do have a full break, up at 3 to 4 times a week in the off season. That would be my ideal world for girls soccer players for injury minimization and high performance, and improving things like speed, explosiveness, and agility. That is my secret recipe. It is up to you to implement and make sure your girls soccer player does not get soft.